Thanks to all my supporters on Ko-Fi or Coffee. If you want to support me there as well, please have a look. You can choose the amount you want to give me either one time or monthly. And monthly supporters will be listed in special videos like this here, no matter the amount. Disclaimer. I don't intend to attack anybody personally. There are amazing folks at Behavior and they have to carry stupid decisions made by a few people. As we from the outside cannot tell who exactly messed up, please don't attack anybody personally. The chance of actually hitting an innocent person is probably a lot higher than I or anybody else would assume. Also, no matter if you agree or disagree with the topics discussed in this video, please share it with as many people as possible. It would really help me out on this channel. Thank you very much. If you now wonder why I make a new video about Dead by Daylight, not even 6 weeks after I said I would take my distance from it, please watch this video to the end, because then you will get your explanation. And don't skip, please. Almost 2 years ago, in October and November 2023, I sat here and explained to you why the changes made to Trickster are bad and not a buff, like Behavior explained, but a nerf. Ever since, nothing changed and it actually got partially worse. Around the same time, I started explaining why I think that the course of action Behavior is taking for Dead by Daylight is a bad one, rather problematic, and they are going for a course that killed already many other asymmetrical PvP games like Evolve, VHS, Evil Dead, and many more. And I did start slowly but steadily, and about 6 weeks ago I announced that I will not be playing Dead by Daylight for a while now. The changes made by Behavior are partially random or cycling back to cause issues that were solved again, but now suddenly they seem perfectly fine and not to be an issue anymore, like the ultra fast healing and the out of this resulting still fast gen repair speed. And of course I understand that I'm a small content creator and my videos and streams don't have that much impact. I even doubt a single soul at Behavior watched a single video of mine once ever. But I'm still baffled to see how many big content creators and the majority of players from various forums defending the current moves of Behavior, especially considering the few weeks after my last video. And yes, several content creators were shooting for a video or two, but now we are back to business as usual mostly. I released my video on the 26th of July and I'm writing this text, or I've written this text on September 1st. In these less than 6 weeks, Behavior messed up big time. Not once, not twice, but thrice. They messed up big on the Walking Dead chapter release. They messed up even bigger on handling the stream with Chandler X, and they impressively messed up on communication about the 2 above and the future plans for the game, which is freaking impressive indeed. Technically they messed up a 4th time with the current PTB already, where they ask killer players to kindly play after the Survivor rulebook. More of that later, because, well, imagine you have a choice how you want to play as a killer. I honestly have no idea how any sane person can defend Behavior's current actions. 6 months ago I warned you that this here all is not Operation Health. I also warned you that you're expecting way too much, and I think that Behavior didn't understand the problems of DbD properly. Or at least they are trying to fix it with the wrong solutions, as a new paint job on already existing bugged features won't fix them. They will look pretty, sure, like the new auto level up, or some of the balance changes that I've even tried while still playing, but all of them don't fix the core issues of Dead by Daylight. If you want to have that rolled out in detail, please watch my video from back then. I'd say it aged well, and I just want to say, for the satisfaction of saying it, I told you so. Because, next to other things, this is what I predicted 6 months ago. And then there's another shadow on the horizon. All of that is not even touching the second phase of this plan yet, where they actually said to bring more anti-slugging, anti-tunneling, anti-camping stuff, cornering the killer's options even more. We don't know exactly how this works yet, but at the moment behavior starts going into a direction that actually could kill the game, because they are doing something that killed many other asymmetrical games too. I know this is not the only reason why other games failed, but many other asymmetrical games died simply because they made the oppressive role less interesting to play as. Some failed on that from the start, like Video Horror Society. Others, like Evolve, had a good start, but gave the originally weaker side more power over time, driving away the people that played on the oppressive role. By the way, Ash vs Evil Dead had a similar issue. So if behavior continues to cut down killers' options and powers and leaving less and less things to deal with survivors, what do you think will happen? Killer mains that love playing that oppressive role will stop playing the game. Then survivors need to wait ages for queues, and eventually they'll also drop the game because they can't find any games anymore, or at least not in a reasonable time. As much as many of the players out there hate the fact, but the main attractions of Dead by Daylight are the killers. If you only play Survivor, you need at least 20% killer players per game to keep this game going. What happens when that balance gets destroyed, you can see every time 2v8 is out. More people want to play killer then, as it's a rare occasion to play with friends on killer side, and it leads to stupidly high waiting times on killer side, as there are way too many killers compared to survivors. And don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying that tunneling, slugging and camping aren't problems. They are for sure. But you simply cannot just cut things away from killer side and not giving them anything else in return. Now, here we are, just after behavior announced to implement an anti-slugging and anti-tunneling mechanic on the PDB that literally takes away more options from the killer players. Strong killers like Nurse and Blight will be more challenging to play as, like this. Yes, sure, but weaker killers? Like Skull Merchant, Trapper or Trickster. Basically any killer without any movement ability, teleport or another way to traverse the map fast somehow is basically screwed over by these changes. So let's have a look at anti-slugging first. They want to add an anti-slugging mechanic that's basically base kit tenacity. With a 90-second delay, but still. That means additive 90 seconds. So as long as you are on the ground for 90 seconds in a trial in total, you can pick yourself up as often as you need for the rest of the trial. And that alone takes a lot of pressure that the killer could generate off the survivors. Because if you see now a teammate going down on the other side of the map and he's getting slugged, not picked up, and you are sitting on a gen, then stick to your gen. The survivor can pick up himself eventually. You don't need to risk your own hide, and you get a gen done on top of that. You can absolutely be rewarded for hiding if the killer is slugging now. And there are plenty of examples already collected by community members where this goes horribly wrong in a survivor-sided way. I need to read that part, sorry. Like when you're playing against a sabotage squad, hooks around you get sabotaged all the time already at the current state. And it won't be better if these changes hit the live server, because look at how survivors, especially on mid and high MMR, abuse perks and other things like Streetwise when they are completely broken. Just assuming nobody would abuse that in the future is plain naive. It's stupid. You can't be that airheaded. So if this anti-slugging goes live, you have the option to either slug them, but you really can't do that anymore because they have infinite unbreakable after 90 seconds, or you let them wiggle free if you've already picked them up. Which also goes in favor of the survivors, because they don't need to pick up, they just can run away while you're stunned from the wiggling free. And yes, I get that every time, even if they are slugged over and over again, they need to recover first, which roughly takes 30 seconds. But a guaranteed infinite self pickup after 30-ish seconds before perks is just freaking insane. No sane person would defend that, right? Talking about insanity, let's talk about the fork vials for a second. Oh sweet Providence, who would have known that these will be a contender for the shit show of the year? Oh, several people that already foreshadowed this, including myself. Who would have thought? Fog vials were basically what I and many others were afraid of. The same thing as smoke crystals from the last Halloween event and some 2v8 mod some time ago. Carrying the same bugs and issues, but unlike a fancy little thing that's added to a fun mode like Halloween or 2v8 lobbies, now they are everywhere. And the pig ignorance and deflection behavior showed on these is baffling. The bug that doesn't allow you to start a chase is known ever since the first version of these smoke crystals that was released on the Halloween event, and instead of postponing the fog vials until this bug is fixed, they forced them out. Then we notice that there are a lot of ways how this can be abused. You can't start a chase? Well, bad for you, Mr. Killer. You cannot play with your food because that doesn't stack for you. And you also can let that game afoot stay at home because it won't help you. And any other chase related perk, just forget them, I guess. But oh, survivors, my beloved survivors, the killer can't start a chase. Well, good for you. Let's take this distortion and stake out and play as much as you want. Because now, when the killer can't chase you, you can get stacks on them even though you're technically in chase because the game says you're not in chase technically. Cool. Really cool. Now you might say, but Absoidus, almost nobody plays Play With Your Food or Game Afoot besides a few niche builds where these might be carrying, but hey, who cares? And yeah, but you can see stake out and distortion on a regular basis. So what do you think benefits more of this feature? And also, the only killer that really benefits from this bug or issue was Pig. So instead of kill switching the whole fog vials, just kill switch Pig. The other perks and stuff and whatnot is all fine, just play, go ahead. Because fog vials are amazing, right? Right? Keep in mind that is just the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about not being able to start a chase. There's much more to that, like no bloodlust, and many more perks that are affected by that. There's so much wrong on this decision process, and I can't wrap my head around how anybody could defend that stance. Talking about stances, you know what's still standing around here? Yes, anti-tunneling, so let's address that one. Everything so far you could claim to be at least somewhat reasonable in a vacuum. Without all the other stuff happening, it should be fine. But anti-tunneling, as it is shown on the PDB notes, you must be drunk to sign this, right? If a survivor dies before 6 total hook stages are met, all remaining survivors get a gen repair speed bonus. We need to wait for the numbers on these. But holy cow, that's a punishment for fulfilling the role as a killer. Like, you know, in killing people. What about Sadaka's Condemn playstyle, or the reverse bear traps of Pig? If you're playing good, you get punished for using them. But that's not even all. If the survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed in any way, generators cannot be regressed or blocked, presumably for the rest of the trial. Imagine this the other way around. If at least 3 generators are done before the killer reaches its first hook, you cannot heal for the rest of the trial. Survivors would be outraged for a good reason. You can't just remove a core mechanic from one side because it's doing its job. But that goes for both sides. And that doesn't even tackle the other stuff on that sheet here. And yeah, you'll get a small benefit for playing fair, but you know what? It doesn't matter. The gen kicking damage, the haste effect and the base kit barbecue are all not needed on stronger and or faster moving killers and completely useless on the weaker and slower ones. If you play Nurse or Blight, you don't care about haste that much, you blink or dash anyway. Also, you don't kick generators that often usually because you're busy hunting down survivors one after another most of the time. And if you play someone like Trapper, these changes don't do much for you if the gen is not somewhere next to you when you hook a survivor. Also, that mini barbecue is easy to outplay with lockers. Barbecue and chili is already one of the most played overreading perks in the game. Survivors assume on a regular basis that you have that one. Now they don't need to assume because they know for a fact that you have it every single game. On top of that, you get denied critical information now. You don't know if somebody got unhooked or unhooked themselves, therefore you lose intel on survivor movement and perks as well. Did you unhook yourself? Was it a 4% or a deliverance? Did somebody went there to unhook the survivor? Do I need to adjust my next steps towards patrolling a certain gen, or will I find survivors somewhere else? Because it just went for the other hooked survivor? You don't know anymore. Some of that stuff, like the unhooked survivor getting no collision with survivors and killers alike, or them getting the new elusive status effect, are fine on its own. But come on, immunity to killer instinct? A thing that is actively affecting killer powers. A thing that, for that very reason, was not affected negatively by any perk and is also not affected by lockers yet. This is in the core explanation behavior gives about killer instinct. It cannot be blocked by perks or lockers. Or anything. Do you know how many killers have killer instinct somewhere in their base kit power? This might maybe sound a little bit like the poker rap now, but Legion, Ghostface, Demogorgon, Pyramid Head, Twins, Nemesis, Pinhead, Artist, Onryo, Dredge, Wesker, Knight, Skull Merchant, Singularity, Xenomorph, Unknown, Vecna, Dracula, Ghoul and Springtrap. 20 out of 40 killers have killer instinct in their base power. Some more if you count add-ons. How can this be fine? And now we're just bending the rules because why exactly? Many more say now that these changes are according to the survivor rulebook, and oh my god, I hate the term. As much as I hate the killer rulebook as well, I've played a lot of online games, PvE and PvP alike, from League of Legends to Hearthstone, over Rainbow Six Siege and Evolved to For Honor, rotating over Valorant, Evil Dead and Hunt Showdown to Deep Rock Galactic, Helldivers, World of Warcraft, EVE Online, Terra, Cabal, StarCraft 2 and even Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Zombie Mode recently, and many more obviously. I've never ever seen a community this entitled anywhere else. Even the Assault Mines of League of Legends didn't have anything that comes even close to the enemy side's rulebook. Why can't you sit on your ass and compliment the other side for a well played move or game? But instead being instantly butthurt and blame the other person for playing after their own rules. And I'm not even 6 weeks out of this game, and I feel like a different person because I don't have to deal with that shit anymore. Of course it's not fun to be outplayed, or being the first to die every single game, I get that. If you don't believe me, then watch my Survivor Adept Streak videos, where I actually died a lot while trying to fight for my achievements. For example, 16 times in a row as Cheryl, or I got married 4 times back to back. Once even by Tombstone Myers in the very first minute of the game. But then I got mad at myself. I tried to improve. I tried to learn to play against a killer better that I just lost against. Grab a friend, if you have one, and go for one-on-ones to practice. This will not only help you to play better against the killer, but if you swap around so your friend can practice too, you'll also see how it looks like from the other perspective. The changes that we see at the moment happening to DbD are, in my opinion at least, a direct result of that mentality. People working at behavior probably need to read that stuff for hours a day at some point. Even if you don't want to, you take over some of that mentality. That was also what happened to me, even without realizing it. I rewatched a few of my own reactions to a few games on one of my last DbD streams, and holy shell, I literally threw it around myself. It changes you, if you want it to or not. Still, the changes that I announced for this PDB are in many ways part of these survivor and killer rulebooks. And people are claiming to be right there. And that's not a good change, because if this course will keep going, we're going to nurse by daylight first, and then afterwards we are actually going towards a dead by daylight. Probably even in a foreseeable future in a very short time span. These are not simple meta or gameplay shakeups anymore, especially combined with the changes in the last 2 years. The free space to play the game and enjoy the game in the way that you want is getting tighter and tighter with every single patch. And now you get actively punished for playing the game, but only on one side. And here I'd like to jump back to what I said 6 months ago. But you simply cannot just cut things away from killer side and not giving them anything else in return. In the last years we lost camping and tunneling against bully squads. We can't grab people while they unhook others anymore. We need to keep people unhooked for an additional 10 seconds per stage now, and certain killers were nerfed to the ground like Trickster or Skull Merchant. I made separate videos on these two. If you're interested, have a look at them, link in the description. And what we got in return was reoccurring hooks, which is a lot of help, and finishing Morris, which to be honest are probably the worst thing I've ever seen coming in DbD. But my opinion on Morris in general is bad, and I think they are bad for the game's balance and health. But let's not just open that can of worms for now. Now, we also got an updated roadmap for this quality of life package. Phase 1 is happening right now. Bug fixes, more bug fixes, but only for the bugs that were introduced since the Walking Dead chapter released. The PDB got postponed, but it's dropping soon now. And lastly, the promise to polish the upcoming original chapter more. Phase 2 is starting in October, and it's going until January and is focusing on releasing the new chapter planned for November, but now in January. A little side note there, does that mean they release a chapter that was planned for February and March in February or March, or is that now postponed as well, or are they just rushing that then? They also want to fix more bugs in that time and focus on high priority and high impact killer issues, whatever that means. Could mean anything. Myers also gets his update in this PDB, and as a barely play Myers, I can't give you an educated opinion on that one. Please reach out to your trusted Myers main for this one. Anti-slugging, anti-tunneling and anti-camping should also roll out during that time, and we already saw how good that will work earlier. February onwards, phase 3. More quality of life releases for March. More fixing high priority and impact issues. Again, whatever that means. An MMR rework, prestige rewards, which they said in the past they'll never do because of the FOMO stuff. And perk previews in matches, which they also said they would never do in the past, because people would quit lobbies if they see certain perks being played by fellow survivors. You know, all of that is exactly as vague as it was 6 months ago on the original roadmap. And again, it's not addressing the actual issues of Dead by Daylight. Instead, it is again promising us a new paint job on already existing broken systems. Some of them broken on a fundamental level. That I'd guess it will take years to fix enough of that to actually get a somewhat stable level again. And that's only if there's no new content released. And yes, I know that the bug fixing team is not the team that is developing new content. But new content also brings new bugs to fix again. And this is linked somewhat in a way here. Just look at the twins, every single release has a new twins bug. Behavior did not do themselves a favor on this one. This changes nothing. My statements from 6 months ago are not only as valid as they were 6 months ago, but even more true now, as so far the game is going exactly in the direction that I predicted 6 months ago. Now you have watched all of that. Might have agreed or disagreed with me, and I'll gladly read about your opinion on all of that in the comments. But you might wonder why I make this video now. Not even 6 weeks after I said I quit Dead by Daylight for a while and I don't want to deal with it too much anymore. The answer to that is simple. The screw-ups behavior delivered in the last 6 weeks are so big that even if you don't follow the DbD bubble actively, you get them pushed in your face. It's a common occurrence at the moment that in other games, subreddits and forums, they are happy that their respective game is not as broken as Dead by Daylight is right now. This train wreck that crashed several times already, and that behavior still thinks of it like it's a brand new train, is going towards another cliff, and nobody seems to stop it from crashing again and again and again. And I needed to rant one last time to get all of this out of my system and to get a bit of closure just by saying, I told you so. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful time of your day. I'll soon be releasing a video on something helpful for Hunt Showdown, so keep an eye on my channel if you're interested. Thanks for watching again, please leave a like, share it, leave a comment. See you in the next one, until then, stay safe. Goodbye.